Sup, I'm Jules, and if you're frantic because all of your deadlines and important to-dos came due all at once and you're way behind, then I hope I can help you out today. So the typical advice you're going to get for this is to brain dump every task on your to-do list, everything you could possibly do, and then go through and delegate or prioritize each of the things. We're going to use a little bit of that, but I think I have a framework that works a whole lot better, at least for me. If that works for you, by all means, keep doing it. But if not, then stick around and I'm going to explain my tricks for getting out of that crisis mode as quick as possible. So the first thing to do is grab a piece of paper and write down not everything you could do, but those things that are really freaking you out right now. The most important things that feel like they're due today. Try not to be too broad. These are the real things that are very urgent. And then the trick is to go through each of them and think about the consequences if they don't get done. And you might think you've already done this, and that's how you know that each of these things are super, super important. But here's a little mindset shift. Let's say you have something on your to-do list that feels extremely urgent and important, like maybe mailing something to a friend that was actually due a few days ago. And pretend that you don't get to it today. For some reason, even though it was one of the most important things, you just can't do it today, and it's tonight or tomorrow and it didn't get done. What would you do in that scenario? Like, try as hard as you can to imagine it's already happened, it's already too late, and it didn't get done today. Maybe you have to text that friend and say it didn't get done and you'll do it the next day, or maybe there's some other consequences to this thing not getting done. But put yourself in those shoes. And I think this really clarifies exactly how bad it'll be, because often we make a really big to-do list and everything feels really important. Then we only get to half of it and we end up having to do this with the remaining things anyways. They don't get done. So we have to either majorly shorten them or not do them at all, and figure out a solution to making by without it or putting it off to the next day and making that work even though it's a little late. Often we think of more solutions when we've already run out of time for it. And before that, we can't imagine not having done it. We can't imagine what life will be like if we don't do it. So what I want you to do is just go through each of the things on your list that feel very urgent and imagine they don't get done today. This is not a strategy to use like every day with your to-do list, not at all. It is a strategy for those days when you are in panic mode and everything is like collapsing in on itself because you fell behind and all the deadlines are due today and like you're majorly stressed out. And I think we all have those from time to time. So on those days, go through each thing and imagine it didn't happen. And then maybe even briefly summarize and write down those consequences, or just think of them in your head and decide which ones would be the least severe. Like if this is helpful, and dislike if not, because I really appreciate the feedback either way. Now, whichever ones do feel the very worst, highlight those and try to get those things done today, and really try your best to have less things left on your to-do list than you think you could do. Maybe you think you actually could do 5 of these things, try to only have 3. And if you finish all of those and you want to pull out the other list that has everything and do some more, then great. But you will feel so much better and things will go better if you're not so panicked. Now, delegating is also awesome, and if you have things that you can delegate, then definitely do that. The only thing I don't like about that tip is so often it's like, oh, if you have too much to do, just look at your list and delegate. And I'm like, I can't delegate any of this. But do try to consider if there's anything you can delegate. And of course, if you can, delegate it right away. And maybe if you feel bad about that, try to repay the favor. Tell somebody like, hey, my head is really underwater today, but if you could help me out this, I would be so appreciative. And maybe I can help you out with something else that's on their plate in a couple days. Now, a bonus. So often I get into this state on days like this where I am just self-loathing. I'm so mad at myself because I either let things go and get to this point, or because I forgot an appointment or something like that. But every time you have those thoughts where you're just really mad at yourself because everything is so out of control and behind, try to push those out because they aren't helpful. And I know you know that, but here's something you can think about instead. Because usually when you're trying not to think about something, the best way is to have a different thought to replace it with. Otherwise, how are you gonna stop thinking about the elephant in the room, right? Instead of feeling mad at yourself for whatever you missed, try to think about a solution. Maybe it's checking your calendar the night before. And if you try to do that before and you weren't able to be consistent, maybe link it to another habit you're good about, like brushing your teeth. Or maybe it's setting mini deadlines and a big project so that everything doesn't become due all at once. Whatever it is, try to change those feelings of anger towards yourself to just constructive ideas of how to not let it get so bad in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you on Tuesday with another video.